Good evening, everyone. In the previous class, we understood what is Angular and why we need to go for Angular, how to create Angular applications. In today's session, we are going to start Angular project development for our IAS admin module. So if you see the admin module, create account, view accounts functionality, create plan, view plans. For plans, we don't need to do that because it is same like a account management only, where we are going to create the account, we will view the accounts, we will edit, we will update, and we will delete the accounts. So for this account management, I want to create Angular application, and I want to integrate this Angular application with our backend application. Okay, for that, I have prepared a set of steps here. By following these steps, we can create Angular application. So now I opened my VS Code IDE. Let me open my terminal here. Go to terminal, new terminal. Now I need to switch to command prompt. Yes, I switch it to command prompt. Let me drag my command prompt here. Perfect. Now I am in the ng workspace directory. Okay. In the ng workspace directory, already app1 is available. I want to create new application. So we know that to create the new application in the Angular, we will use a command called ng new command. I'm using IES UI. This is the project name I'm using, ng new IES UI. It is used to create one Angular project. So let me create Angular project by using ng new option. Once this project got created, it is asking me, would you like to add the Angular routing? Yes, I want to add the routing. I want to use the CSS. Yes, project creation is in progress. So that is our step one. Let me make it as step one. You can follow the same steps to do that. Step one, create Angular application. Create Angular application. For this, I'm using the name as IES UI. So once you create this project, it will ask for, do you want routing? Yes, I want routing for my application so that I can route the request from one component to another component by using routing. Select S for routing because we have to route the request to multiple components in the application. Once this application got created, install Bootstrap and jQuery in our Angular application. So we should navigate into our project directory, cd space IES-UI. We will navigate into this project directory and we will execute this command to install the Bootstrap for our Angular application. We will execute this command to install jQuery into our application. So let us check the project creation. Still, it is installing the required NPM packages. So Angular project creation is a time-taking process, guys. It has to download all the dependencies which are required for that. So I'm waiting for the project to be created. Once the project is created, install the Bootstrap and jQuery in the Angular application. Once you install that, in the Angular, JSON file will be available, which will define which styles it has to use, which scripts it has to use. So as we are installing Bootstrap and jQuery, I'm going to tell use bootstrap.css, which we are installing, and use this jQuery min.js and bootstrap min.js. When we install Bootstrap and jQuery, those things, those dependencies will be installed under node modules folder in our project. I want to tell to my Angular application, you take the CSS files from this location and you take the JS files from this location. So these styles and scripts we are going to customize by using angular.json file. Let me go here. Project got created successfully. Now, let me go inside the project directory. This is IES UI application. Now let me go to project cd space IES UI. I'm inside the project directory. Then install Bootstrap and jQuery. npm install Bootstrap. It will install the Bootstrap in our project. The Bootstrap installation will happen under node modules, guys. If you see IES UI application, node modules will be created. Inside the node modules, all the dependencies will be available. Now Bootstrap will be installed. It is installing the Bootstrap under the node modules. All right. Yes, Bootstrap got installed. Next one, install the jQuery. npm install jQuery. Yes, it is installing the jQuery. Yes, it is done. Once this installation process got completed, then let us go for customization. In the Angular project, you can see there is a file called angular.json. In the angular.json file, it is telling from where it has to load the styles and which scripts it has to use. If you see line number 27, styles are configured. Line number 30, scripts are available. I want to tell to load Bootstrap styles and JavaScript scripts. jQuery scripts it has to load. So you just need to take these styles, configure the styles inside that. The styles are already available for only styles.css. I'm removing, I'm adding these styles. So what is the meaning of this? I'm telling that you use the existing styles.css along with the bootstrap.css. So this is the one which we have installed. And coming to scripts, currently there are no scripts available. We need to configure our scripts here. I'm telling to take jQuery min.js and bootstrap min.js. These are jQuery scripts we want to take from the scripts location. Those are available under node modules. So once it is done, configure the styles in the src styles.css. In the Angular application, under the src, styles.css file will be available. This is the file which contains the global styles. For every component, a separate styles file will be available. If you want to configure some global styles, then you can configure those styles by using this styles.css. Whatever the bootstrap we have installed, based on that we are configuring some footer related styles. I'm telling that import the bootstrap.css file. I'm configuring some footer based on some colors and all. Okay, so background color I am giving, position, bottom, width, height, background color, text alignment. We are giving for footer. This is only applicable for the footer, guys. So I'm configuring a global style for the footer. So done. Let me go with the application execution. Let me run this application. Ng serve command to see our application is running as expected or not. I'm trying to run the project. We just created Angular application, and step 2, we have installed the Bootstrap and jQuery. Then step 3, we configured those styles and scripts. And step 4, configuring the global styles for the Bootstrap. Okay, that's it. 4 steps we have completed. Now application is building. I executed a command called ng serve command, which is used to run our application. So first time we are executing, so it will take time to build that project. Then it will run the project by using live server. Angular live server will run on the port number 4200. Let us go to browser and let us access that port number. I'm using localhost : 4200 port number to access it. Now we are getting our Angular application. The default page is loaded, which is our app component. So let me go and change my app component. App component.html. This is the default page. I can say that IES UI under development. IES UI under development. Okay, good. Now you can see IES UI under development. Our page is loading. So as we have added the Bootstrap, we need to specify this Bootstrap container, fluid containers and all. Otherwise, it is occupying complete web page. If you want to give some margins, then Bootstrap containers we are going to use so that the text will have some margins and borders. All right. So our application is running. That is fine. The next part is, guys, which is very important, creating binding class. Step 6. Okay, step 5. Create a binding class. So here I prepared this for the contact application. Now we are going to change according to our project. Create a binding class. So for our application, that means IES application, account is available now. Create account. So to capture the account information, we are going to create one binding class. Create account is available. This is account form. Let me create one binding class with a name called account.ts, which will represent account form data, So how to create a binding class in the Angular? To create a binding class in the Angular, we will use ng generate class and class name. I want to use the class name as a account. ng generate class account. Let me execute that command. So currently you check it under the app component, only app module details are available. Nothing is there. Now I'm going to create one binding class. That is a TypeScript class. What is binding class? Which is used to map the data. ng generate class account. I'm giving the class name as a account, which will generate one TypeScript class. In this class, we are going to represent our form binding variables. In this class, we are going to represent our form binding variables. Account.ts file is created. Let us go to account.ts. Export class account is available. What we need to do in the account class? We need to represent these variables: full name, email ID, mobile number, gender, date of birth, SSN. We need to represent these binding variables in our class. Okay, guys. Now, how to represent these variables? In the form, full name is available. Let me take this as a full name string empty. Currently, no data is available. I'm representing this as empty variable, full name. After full name, we have email ID. Let me take email string. I'm taking this also as empty. Then mobile number, that is called as our phone number. Phone number is a number type, guys. Phone number is a number type. I'm going to represent as a 0. Default value I'm taking now. Then next one, gender. Gender is a string. Okay. So variable name data type we are using for that. Now gender string I'm using. Then next one, date of birth. Date of birth is coming. Let me take DOB. So DOB value we are going to get. Then next one, SSN number. SSN number is also a number type. We are going to specify that as a 0. So these are our binding class. This is our binding class, which is used to map the data. When you are developing a binding class in the front end, you need to make sure your front end binding class variables are matching with the back end binding class variables. Why? Because Angular application will send the data to the backend application in the form of JSON. So here our backend application will be available in the form of Spring Boot REST API. Backend application is a Spring Boot REST API. Front-end application will be available as a Angular application. In the front end, we are developing the form. This Angular UI app is going to send the form data to our backend application in the form of which format? JSON format. So front-end binding class data will go to backend application in the JSON format. So whatever the binding class variables we are taking in the front-end application, those binding class variables should match with the backend form binding classes variables. Then only data can be mapped. Otherwise, the data cannot be mapped. Like this, we are taking a binding class. Okay. Now, once a binding class is available, we need to generate a service class, guys. We need to generate a service class. What is the purpose of service class? Service class is used to write our business logic. This is our step number 6. Create a service class to write the business logic. First, let me write Angular architecture so that you will understand what are the components we are going to build. Here, we will have a template file. The template is a UI. We will have a template file. I think already I have prepared that Angular diagram. Yeah. In the previous class, we have taken the diagram. Na? Yes. So we are going to have a template. The template will be interacting with the component. Component will interact with the service. Service will interact with the backend REST API. So now our service class should be created. In the service class, we are going to write our business logic to communicate with the backend REST API. So service class should communicate with the backend API. For that, we are going to use HTTP client as a mediator. HTTP client module is required to develop the business logic. So first, let me develop our service class in the front end. How to create a service class in the front end? To create service class in the front end, ng generate service account. I want to create account service. Ng generate service called account. You observe in the app component currently service is not available. When I execute ng generate service account, it is going to create a account service. It is going to create account service in our Angular application. If you see account.service.ts file got created, in this currently there is no logic available. In this there is no logic available. We need to write the logic in this. Okay, we need to write the logic in this. In order to write the logic, first we need to declare our backend URL. Admin API URL will be available. Na? We need to declare our backend URL. Let me take the URL private base URL. I am going to specify admin API URL. Private admin API URL. So for example, my application is running in the AWS cloud. Okay. So what I will do, I'm going to specify the IP address 172.32.31.4 colon 8080/admin. This is the base URL for admin API, which will run in the AWS cloud using Docker. Okay. So once our front end is ready, I will deploy my backend application also in the AWS cloud. This is our admin API URL. This is my IP address of the Linux machine, which is using our application as a Docker container, which is running our application as a Docker container. This is our admin API URL. All right. Now our service class in the Angular, should communicate with the backend REST API. I have configured my backend REST API URL. Then service should communicate with the Spring Boot. For that, we are going to use HTTP client. So I need to perform dependency injection. I need to inject HTTP client object into our service component. How to inject HTTP client into service? Private constructor injection I am doing. Private HTTP client colon HTTP client. Okay. I need to write HTTP client. HTTP client is not injected here. We need to import that. We need to import the HTTP client. View the problem. Cannot find what is HTTP client. We need to import the HTTP client here. How to import the HTTP client? Where is that HTTP client? HTTP client is available in the common HTTP package. Let me do that import statement. HTTP client. So we are not getting from here also. The reason is we need to add that in the modules. App modules.ts. In the import section, we need to import HTTP client. We need to import HTTP client. HTTP client module we have to import. Where is that HTTP client module will be available? HTTP client module will be available in the common HTTP package. Okay. Let us import HTTP client module. In the app module package, I'm going for HTTP client angular.common.http. Yes, HTTP client module I have imported in the app module. Then go to service. In the service now, we can inject HTTP client. Guys, remember, when I want to inject HTTP client, for that we need to import HTTP client module. I'm importing HTTP client module by using app module import section. Then I'm able to inject HTTP client into our service by using constructor injection. In the Spring, we already know what is constructor injection. Same thing we are doing here. Constructor injection. Okay, perfect. Now, I want to write the methods in the service. Service layer should communicate with the backend API, right? For that, we are going to use HTTP client. I have already imported HTTP client. Using this, we need to write the methods. What is the first method? We need to create the account. For creating the account, we need one method. That method should send a post request to the backend API. So let me write one method in the service layer. That method I am writing as create account. Create account. In order to create the account, we are going to send account data, that is a form data. Account form data we need to send to the backend application. Once I create the account, what is the response I'm going to get? That response I'm going to get by using some observable object. I'm going to get the response in the form of observable object. What is the response we are going to get? That response I'm holding by using observable. What is observable? Observable is available in the RxJS package. Let me inject observable. That means it is available in RxJS package from RxJS. Let me import observable. Right? Observable I'm taking, which is going to create the contact and it is going to return the response. So what is the response we are going to get? Success message only we are going to get the response. What is the message? A function declared as undefined or void, any must return a value. Yes, I'm trying to return one object by using observable. It is expecting some return type from the function. This is a create account function. We are taking object as a parameter. That is our binding object, account object, and it is returning another object. Now, let me go for some return null value. If I return some value, then it will be happy. My function is having a return statement, right? We have to return some value from this. Some value from this. Now, what we have to return? I am going to call my backend API. Whatever I will get the response from the backend, same thing I will return in the form of object. This is a function in the Angular TypeScript function. It should return one object. Now return this dot HTTP client dot post. I want to send one post request, guys, because creating the account is a post request. I want to send one post request. I want to send one post request. For this post request, I will specify to which URL you want to send the post request, what data you want to send in the request body, what is your response type. These three things we need to specify as a parameter for the post method. So to which URL you want to send the post request, what data you want to send in the request body, what is the response you will get from the backend API. These are three parameters I need to set in the post method. Are you guys getting my point? What I am trying to do in the Angular service class? Guys, are you understanding what I am trying to do in the Angular service class? In the Angular service class, I'm writing a function. That function will take the form data and will send that form data to the backend API. So that function is having binding object, which will return some object as a response. So how to send the request from the backend front-end application to backend? By using HTTP client. I have already injected that HTTP client object into our service. Now create account. So I want to send the create account request as a post request because it is a form data. Post method is expecting three parameters. First one is URL. What is the backend application URL? What data you want to send in the request body as it is a post request? What is the response you are getting from the backend application? My URL, admin API URL is available. This is just base URL. This is just my base URL. Localhost colon 8080 slash. This is the base URL of our admin application. Now take this base URL and specify actual method URL pattern. Specify the base URL by using this, we are going to specify dollar of admin API URL. This dot dollar of this dot admin base URL. For this, we are having slash account. This is the actual URL to create the account in the backend application. This is the base URL. This is method URL pattern. Request body. I want to send account data in the request body. What is the response you will get from the backend application? Backend application will give the response as a JSON, or it can give the response as a text format. Response type is a text. We are going to get the response from the backend application in the text format. That's it. So this method is going to send a post request for the backend application. This dot post, first parameter, second parameter, and third parameter. This is our post request method, which is used to create the account. Look at this. This will send a post request to our backend application. Create account one method I am creating. For the method I am passing account object as a parameter. That means the form data will come to from the template, the data will come to the component. Component will give the data to the service. Service will send the data to the backend application in the post request. Now I am developing the business logic service layer. So this service will send the post request to the backend API with the account data, and it is expecting text as a response. So like this, I'm writing one method for that. Are you guys clear with my point? Are you guys clear with my point? Are you able to understand the method that I'm writing to create the account? I am injecting HTTP client object into my account service. I'm writing one method. This will send you a post request by using HTTP client. Post method taking URL of the backend application, request body data, and what response it is expecting from the backend. From the backend, it is expecting text as a response, success message or failure message. Fine. So now, once the account is created, I want to display existing accounts. For that, we are going for view accounts concept. So I need to write a method which will get the existing records and will display. That means I need to send a GET request to the backend application to retrieve the data. I need to send a GET request to retrieve the data. So how to send a GET request from the Angular application? Get accounts. What is the method I'm writing? Get accounts. Do I need to pass any parameter for this method? Not required, because I want to get the existing records. I no need to send anything. I will get the response in the form of observable object. Observable, what data we are going to get? Account data. One account or multiple accounts? Multiple accounts. That's the reason I'm writing account array. So whenever you click on view accounts, you can get multiple records from the backend. So to represent multiple records, we are going for array concept. Get accounts, observable of accounts array. How to get all these accounts from the backend application? Again, we need to send get request. Again, we need to send the get request. How to send the get request? Return this dot HTTP client dot get. Now, here we need to write two parameters for the get request. What are the two parameters we need to write for the get request? What is the URL of the backend API? What response you are expecting from the backend API? And what is the response you are expecting from the backend API? Okay. For the get request, I'm expecting the response in the form of account array. I'm expecting the response in the form of account array. Let me specify the URL. Okay. What is the URL? This dot admin API URL slash accounts. That's it. This is the method which will send a get request to this URL pattern. This is my backend API URL. binded to get request method, it will return list of accounts for us in the form of JSON. That JSON data I am mapping to my account array. So this method will send a post request for the backend API to create the account by using Spring Boot application. This method will send a request to get all the records by sending a get request. Are you able to understand this function in the TypeScript? Are you able to understand this function in the TypeScript? What is the purpose of this function? This function will send a request when you click on view accounts link. It will send a get request to the backend. It will get all the records, will display those records in the front. To fetch the records from the backend, we are sending a get request. This is by HTTP post, HTTP get. You got the clarity? First one is for saving the account. Second one is for retrieving the accounts. What next? What next, guys? What we need to do? Whenever user click on edit, when user click on edit, we need to get that record, we need to display in the editable mode. Okay, we need to write one more function. When you click on edit, that particular account data we should get and display in the editable mode. How to do this? Again, we need to send a get request. When you click on edit, again, we need to send a get request to get the data, display the data in the editable mode. For that, I should write one more function to get particular account based on the ID. I need to get one particular record based on the account ID. Now, what I will do, get account by ID. Get account by ID. What record we are going to get? Now we are going to get the single record. Now we are going to get a single record. Yes or no? When I pass get account by ID, I will get the single record. So which ID I need to pass? Let me take this as a parameter. ID colon number. ID I want to supply. That means template is UI. When you click on that link in the UI, it should go to component. Component should give to service. Service should give to backend application by using client, HTTP client. How to pass the data from component to service? How the component will pass the data to service? In the service, I'm writing a function. That function is expecting a parameter, and that function will return the particular account object based on the given ID. That is the meaning of this method. Get account by ID. With the given ID, you send a get request for the backend application. You get the record from the backend. You give that record to the component. Component will give that record to the template. Template will display the data in the form in the editable mode. That is the meaning of that. Are you clear? Now, let us send a get request from here. How to send a get request? Return this dot HTTP client dot get. I'm going to get a single record from here now. I'm going to get a single record from here. Get account of this dot admin API URL / account with the ID. Just account / what is that? I need to pass ID $of ID. So this is the ID which we are taking as a method parameter. That ID I'm passing in the URL as a path parameter, so that it will send a get request to this URL with a account ID as a path parameter. My backend application is expecting account ID as a path parameter. My backend application is expecting account ID as a path parameter. Look at this method. This is sending just a get request to get all the accounts to display view accounts page. But this method is sending particular account ID in the query parameter in the get request, so that that particular account object we will get to display that particular account in the editable mode. Are you able to understand difference between get accounts and get account by ID? This second method will send you a get request to retrieve all the accounts. Third method will send you a get request with the particular ID to get only that account based on the given ID. That's it. That's it. Clear with my point, guys? What are the methods I'm writing in the service class in the Angular? This is a business logic in the front end. Accessing the backend REST API. Accessing the backend REST API. All right. Next one. I need to write one more method to change the account status. Right? You can activate the account or you can deactivate the account. Activate the account or deactivate the account. Now, let me go for another method. Change account status. Update account status. Update account status. What is the account to update the status and what is the status? What is the account and what is the status? Okay, I'm taking that. What is the account and what is the status I need to update? After updating the status, I need to, whenever the account status is updated, I need to fetch the latest data. Updated status I need to fetch. When I update this, I need to fetch that updated status. Got it? Now for this, we are going for update account status for which record and what is the status you want to update. After updating the status, I'm expecting some message from the backend application, right? I'm expecting some message from the backend application, or our backend application is returning the latest records. Let me check in our API. In our API, what we have done in the admin API. If I go to admin API, let me check it. In the REST controller, what we have done. Account REST controller. After doing the update, account update, I'm returning the list of users. That means it will return the latest users. Okay. So that means I need to specify observable account array. I'm going to get this as a response. After the account is updated, I'm getting list of accounts. Now I need to send a put request because this method is binded to put mapping. User account ID, account status, it is expected. Account ID, account status, it is expected. I'm writing a method, update account status with ID and with status. And I'm getting latest accounts. Okay, after updating that status. So I want to send a put request, return this dot HTTP client dot put. I want to send a put request. So when I go for put request, what is the response I'm getting? All the accounts I'm getting as a response. Got it? Put. Now I want to send a request with the URL. Right? This is the URL, not just ID. I need to send the status also. I need to send the status also. So that account will be updated. Okay. Return observable accounts. Observable is not assignable to type. Account array. Any mistake, guys? Put request directly. Put with the URL. Put method URL, body, and parameters it is expected. Now let me specify null and let me specify null. Put request. Response type is JSON. Any mistake? Yeah, perfect. Observable account array, response type, we need to specify. I want to specify the response type as a account array here. For the put method, is it is not taking that account response type. What we need to specify here? No overloaded method call, return this dot http client dot put URL, request body. I'm not sending anything. Response type I'm expecting as this. For get method, we can say that account array is the response type. That is fine. But for put method is used to update the data. What is the response type we are expecting? It is not accepting that. Update account status. Observable account array I specified. Put method, URL string, body any type, options, headers are undefined. Parameters, response type with credentials. These are the possible parameters we can supply. No. Put method returning list of records after updating the status. But in the front end, put method is not accepting that list. Okay, we'll check that, guys. We'll check it. What is the possible way that I need to return from the backend? Or else we need to return just a string message and we need to load the latest data again. Yeah. Put method, response type as JSON with credentials Boolean, observable. URL body return. Observable for the JavaScript object. Yes, I'm specifying this observable object. Return type. How to specify HTTP client put method return type as object array. Good. For get method, they are giving the URL, but for put method, we are putting. For get method, it is okay. No, I'm not getting this for put method. Let's leave it. I will check it. I need to specify the return type for the put method. It is not accepted. When I just specify put observable, not assigned to any type of T. No. What we have done in the backend is after doing the put request to update the account status, we are returning the list of users back. But in the front end, we are unable to specify the return type is account array. After the account is updated, we should get the account array. It is not taking that. I'm passing URL, comma, no body I'm sending, everything I'm sending in the query parameter. Response type I need to specify, it is not accepting. We'll check it. What response type I can specify for account. So these are the three methods. One is for creating the account. One is for to get all the accounts. Second one is get account by ID. Third one is to update the account status. There is an error. So we need to fix this error. Meanwhile, let me comment this method. For updating, how to write that method, we'll check it. I'm commenting, I will check the possible solution. Fine. So with this, for our application, create account for that one method is available. To view the accounts, one method is available. To edit the account, one method is available. And to update the account, we need to write a method. We are getting the issue with the return type of that method. Okay, we will fix it. We'll see that. Otherwise, we need to make a change in the backend. Instead of returning list of records from the backend, we need to return a message from the backend for the put request. If you're returning a message from the backend, then you can specify that message like this here. If you are getting a message, we can specify object as a return type. Object as a return type. Here, whatever the object we are getting, that we can specify as response type as a text. So with this, the problem can be fixed. This is one way to fix that problem. Instead of getting the list of records back from the update method, if you are getting just a success message from the backend method, then we can specify that as a text response. We'll get the text response from the backend. We'll see if we can specify the array as a return type, we will go with that, or else we will change the backend implementation. Perfect. This method is used to update the account status. This method to get the single record based on the given ID. This method is used to get all the records. This method is used to create the account. With this, our service implementation is ready in the Angular. Okay. Create the service class to write the business logic. Create service. Instead of this, I'm going for account. So whatever the logic I'm writing in the service, guys, I'm going to give you that logic in this program. I'm removing the existing logic. I'm keeping our latest logic. Got it. ng generate service account. Account service is created. This is our backend URL. Create account. Then get the accounts. Get account by ID. Then update the accounts. Now we need to create the component. Okay. Create account to component is required. Create account to component. Now, one more component is contact list, right? Account list to display the accounts, account edit. So like this, we are going to create 3 components. One component is used to create the account of our user. One component is used to list all the accounts are available. Another component is used to edit the account. So like this, we are going to create components. How to create components in our application? To create the components in our application, ng generate a component. ng generate a component we are going to use. Component name create account. One component. One component will be created with a name called create component. Similarly, we need to create 2 other components also. Now, ng generate a component account list. To display all the accounts which are available, we are creating one component, account list. Next one, ng generate account edit. To edit the account, one more component. Sir, then what about the component for updating the account? Update the account, component is not required, because when you go for view accounts, updating the account status is happening on the same page. So whenever the page is changing, then only we need a component. So when I go for view accounts, one page is loading. When I click on create component, another page is loading. When I click on view component, another page is loading. So for that, 3 components created. What about the update the account? For updating the account, I'm not creating any component. The reason, it's not required. In the same page, asynchronously, we can update the account and we can display the message here. So I have created 3 components now. Once our components are created, we need to import client module and forms module in the app module.ts file. So go to app module, HTTP client module I have already imported. We need to import forms module. We need to develop the forms now. For that, forms module is required. Where the forms module will be available? Forms module will be available in the Angular forms package. Why we need the forms module? Forms module is used to develop the forms in the Angular by using two-way data binding concept. What is the meaning of two-way data binding? Whatever the data I enter in the component, whatever the data is there in the template data should come to the component. Whatever the data we enter in the component, it should go to the template. Got my point? Okay. Template data should come to the component. Component data should go to the template. All right. So for that reason, I have created 3 components, guys. One is create account component. Second one is list accounts. Third one is account edit component. 3 components are created. Import forms module in the app module.ts file. What is this for app forms module? Forms module is used to develop forms in our Angular application. So like this, we need to import forms module. We have already imported forms module. Then we need to create routings, guys. Now, whenever I click on create account, one page should open. When I click on view accounts, another page should open. For that, we need to create routings in our application. So how to configure routings? Already routings module is created. Router module is available. What is the purpose of routing? Routings are used to configure navigations in the application. So one for which URL, which component should be created, that we are going to configure by using routings. All right. So let me configure routings in our application. Okay. Constant routes is available. So the routes are currently empty. I need to create the routings. What is the purpose of routings? Routings are used for navigations in the Angular. When I click on view accounts, accounts page should be displayed. When I click on create contact, contact page should be displayed. When I click on create plan, plan page should be displayed. When I click on view plans, plans page should be displayed. So page navigations are required. For the page navigations, we are going to configure routings in the Angular. What is a routing? Routing is used to specify navigation from one component to another component. So I'm going to specify the routing here, right? How to specify the route? The first route I'm going to specify if the path is contacts, if the path is accounts. Like this here, whenever we are navigating to view accounts, if the path is accounts, then I'm going to specify it should go to account list component, whatever we have created. When you click on view accounts, it should display the accounts. To display the accounts, we are going to create one component. What is the component? Account list component is available. I need to specify that. Okay. So for this URL pattern, which component should execute? Account list component should be executed. This is one routing. When the URL is accounts, the account list component should execute. That is one routing. Next one, when the component, when the path is edit, when the path is edit. So when you want to edit the record, okay, whenever you are editing a record, you will supply some ID. For that, which component should execute? Account edit component should be executed for that. When you click on edit record, account edit component should execute for that. Accounts and account edit component we are going to configure. So when you want to create the account, for that there is a component path. If the path is create account, then for that I want to execute a component called account create. Account create. What is the component we have created? Create account component. Create account component. So these are the three routings I'm configuring. So when you click on create account, one component should execute. When you click on view accounts, one component should execute. When you edit the component, when you click on edit, another component should execute. Like this, we are going to specify routings. Like this, we are going to specify routings. So all the routes we declared as a constant variable, those routes we are passing for the routes. Now, these are the navigations in our UI application. These are the navigations in our UI application. Are you guys clear with my point? When the path is empty, I want to redirect to view components. For example, in our application, if a path is empty, then what I want to do? I want to redirect. When the path is empty, I want to redirect to accounts. That's it. If you don't give any URL, by default, it will be redirected to accounts component. Redirect. This is called routings. Okay. Once the routing is completed, we need to start creating our logic in the components. We need to start creating logic in the components, and we need to design our template files. Okay. We need to create our components and we need to design our template files. Perfect. Now, so that component logic and templates logic we will develop in the tomorrow morning session. So today, what we have done, we created one Angular application. We installed Bootstrap and jQuery. We configure the styles and scripts in the Angular JSON. Configure below styles in the src styles.css. Now, create one binding class to map front-end application data with the backend API, with the backend application, with the backend application data. Okay, front-end data we should map with the backend data, or backend data we should map with the front-end data. Make sure backend API binding class and front-end binding class variables are same. Then create a service class to write the business logic. Before going to create the service logic, guys, you need to import step 6, import HTTP client module in app.module.ts file. Why? Because when we are creating the service logic, we are injecting HTTP client. Create service class to write the business logic. Create service class to write the business logic. Before doing that, we are importing HTTP client module. Once the service class is created, we are going to write the business logic to make the backend REST calls. To make the REST calls for the backend, we are writing our service. Once the service is created, we are creating the components. This is our step number 8. This is our step number 8. Create below components. Once the components are created, then import forms module in the app.module.ts file. This is step number 8. Step 7, step 8 and step 9. Step 8 and step 9. Create the components, import the forms module in the app module.ts file. I no need to write all this logic. Okay, you know that we need to import the forms module here. Then configure routings in the app.routing.module.ts. So this is step number 7. Configure routings in app.routing.module.ts file. So these are the routings we are going to configure. Let me go for app.module.ts. These are our routings. Okay, you just need to configure this. You no need to write the complete logic for this. You just need to write these routes. That's it. Okay. Now build the logic in the remaining files. So that logic we will do in the tomorrow session. I want you to complete up to step number 10. Okay. IES UI development. Let me give these notes so that you can work on these steps before coming to tomorrow. IES UI, IES Angular app development. .txt. I hope these steps are clear for you. Tomorrow we need to write the main logic for the components and templates. Project creation, installing the dependencies and creating the binding classes, creating the service class with the business logic, creating the components and configure routings in the routing module. Tomorrow we'll work on logic creation in the components and templates. So once the templates are ready, our forms will be ready, then we can start testing of our application. Can you guys do this before coming to tomorrow? Yeah. Anybody having any questions on this? You can unmute and you can ask me. Tomorrow morning at 9:30 we have class. Tomorrow we'll work on the component logic and template logic for this project. Anybody having any doubt? Anybody having any doubt on this? No doubts? Okay, good guys. So I'm going to upload this notes in our portal for the development procedure. Step by step, we are preparing the notes, which will help you to do the development. IES Angular app development guide. Good. Yeah. I uploaded the document. So please take the document and start the procedure. So tomorrow we'll work on the pending logic for that. Thank you guys. Good night.